Took him to the circus.
No! You let me down,
Autumn
Dan!
looks great.
Let
Come
me
on.
down! Let me down!
Amy,
No!
trust me.
No!
This is gonna be fun. Ready?
He ignored the woman's desperate pleas and jumped straight into the ocean with her in his arms. No one expected that one reckless move would drag all 6 people on that trip into a deadly disaster, because by the time everyone realized what was wrong, they found out the ladder had never been lowered. What's worse, the hull was completely smooth. There was absolutely nothing to grab onto, even though there was a baby still inside the cabin. She was too young to understand anything and couldn't offer any help at all. All of this left Sophia, the mother, filled with anxiety. Everyone believed this was all Mark's fault. To make up for what he did, Mark tried stepping on a dolphin to reach the railing and climb back up, but no matter how many times he tried, he failed every single time. On the rough, rolling ocean, it was impossible to keep steady. For a moment, everyone was swallowed by despair, their eyes filled with blame toward Mark. But at this point, what good would blaming him do? Just when everyone didn't know what to do, a phone suddenly started ringing on the yacht. That sound instantly gave them hope. They followed the ringing and found where it was coming from. Luckily, it was coming from a piece of clothing, and even better, one of the sleeves was hanging down. That sight got everyone excited. Ryan leaped up and yanked the clothes down, then quickly reached into the pocket and found the life-saving phone. But when he answered the call, the person on the other end couldn't hear them at all. Obviously, water had gotten into the mic. Just as everyone started yelling in frustration, the phone suddenly lost all signal. Overwhelmed with emotion, Ryan angrily threw the phone away. Everyone was stunned. They never expected Ryan to be so impulsive and reckless out here in the endless ocean. Losing the phone meant losing any chance of calling for help. Once Ryan calmed down, he was filled with regret. But regret couldn't change anything now. Right then, Mark suddenly came up with a plan. They would all take off their clothes and tie them together into a rope. As long as they could hook it onto the railing, they'd have a chance to climb back up. Soon enough, they managed to hook the rope onto part of the railing. After testing its strength, Mark started climbing immediately. Everyone stared at him without blinking. But at the critical moment, the rope suddenly snapped. Their hope of escape was shattered again. As everyone's strength began to run out, Sophia's husband decided to dive underwater and try to find a way up from beneath the boat. But not long after he went under, his goggles started filling with water. He quickly took them off, but in the panic, he accidentally dropped the knife. That knife was their only survival tool. He dove down immediately to search for it. Finally, at the last second, he grabbed it. But by then, his lungs had reached their limit. He struggled with everything he had to swim back up. Surfaced, he began to lose consciousness. Clearly, he had suffered a severe head injury and needed immediate treatment, or his life would be in danger. At that moment, Ryan finally lost control. He grabbed the knife and started stabbing the hull in a frenzy. But that terrified Mark, because the yacht was borrowed from a friend. While the two were arguing, an accident happened. The knife accidentally stabbed Ryan in the abdomen. Blood instantly spread into the surrounding water. Everyone was horrified, because they all knew the strong smell of blood could attract dangerous marine predators at any moment. If they didn't get back on the yacht soon, things would only get worse. One woman, unwilling to die like this, finally broke down. While no one was paying attention, she quietly swam away alone. By the time the others noticed, she was already gone. Knowing how serious it was, Mark dove underwater to look for her, but it was too late. She had already run out of strength and was gone forever in the endless sea. No one could have imagined what was supposed to be a fun trip for 6 people would end with 1 dead and 2 injured. Even worse, they had been drifting for so long, and not a single boat had passed by. As time went on, Ryan, who was injured in the abdomen, died from excessive blood loss. Ethan blamed everything on Mark. If Mark hadn't acted impulsively and dragged Sophia, who was afraid of water, into the sea, none of this would have happened. Mark knew he was at fault. A wave of guilt overwhelmed him. Filled with self-blame, he could no longer face the others. Just when no one had figured out how to climb back up, a baby's cry suddenly came from the cabin. Sophia immediately realized her child had woken up.
Please stop me!
The baby was crying alone on the yacht, but as a mother, she could do nothing because Sophia was trapped in the open sea and her husband was critically injured. As night was about to fall, Sophia accidentally noticed several knife marks on the hull. She suddenly understood. Her companion hadn't been venting emotions earlier. He was trying to wedge the knife into the hull and use it to climb up. This realization hit Mark instantly. He dove underwater to find the knife, but as time passed, Sophia's husband died due to lack of timely treatment. Even worse, a storm suddenly rolled in, with heavy heavy rain pouring down. At that moment, Sophia completely broke down. She held tightly onto her husband's body, afraid the sea would take him away. But one person's strength is limited. Until she was completely exhausted, she had no choice but to let go, and watched helplessly as his body drifted away. At this point, only Sophia remained on the surface, and Mark, still searching underwater. Soon, both of them might die in the sea. Filled with rage, Mark slammed the hull repeatedly. Unexpectedly, he discovered a way out. He removed the lens from his goggles and wedged it into a gap in the hull, gripping it tightly with both hands. Now, if Sophia stepped on his hands, she could climb up, but because of the heavy rain, she failed again and again, falling back into the water each time. But for her child, she refused to give up. Again and again she tried. Again and again she fell. Until finally, she grabbed the railing and climbed back onto the yacht. She immediately pressed the button to lower the ladder and saw her baby crying inside the cabin. But at that moment, facing the ladder right in front of him, Mark chose not to climb up. He believed all the deaths were his fault. He turned around and slowly swam toward the deep sea. By the time Sophia came back out, Mark had already disappeared into the ocean. At the end of the story, a passing fishing boat found them, the mother and child on the yacht. They were finally rescued, but the accident left Sophia with deep psychological trauma. And that's where the story ends.